Sometimes, the things you leave unsaid reveal more about your character than all the declarations, boasts, or clever phrases you might ever string together. In my experience, the truly wise men I've met are not recognized by the volume of their speech or by the cleverness of their arguments. They are distinguished by restraint, by the questions they allow to linger in silence, by the moments when, instead of asserting themselves, they step back, observe, and choose not to speak. There is a subtle power in that silence, a quiet mastery that the loudest voices cannot grasp. Welcome to this journey into Stoic training. Today is not about consuming more information, chasing the next viral insight, or acquiring skills for social approval. Today is about uncovering the buried wisdom that pride, fear, and self-protective habits have hidden from view. Every word spoken thoughtlessly is a leak in your energy. Every excuse conceals a fear you refuse to confront. And every statement made merely to protect your ego chips away at your dignity and self-respect. In the chapters that follow, we will explore 7 things that an intelligent man deliberately refrains from saying. Not because he is perfect, no man is, but because he understands the quiet, unglamorous power of restraint. Silence, humility, and self-control are not weaknesses. They are the true hallmarks of strength. I invite you now to take a deep breath, sit with these ideas, and let them sink in. They may change not only how you speak, but also how you perceive yourself and your capacity for growth. 1. I already know that. The trap of the ego. Sometimes the most dangerous words a man can speak are also the simplest. I already know that. At first glance, these words seem innocuous, even confident. They signal competence. They suggest authority. Yet beneath this veneer, they conceal one of the greatest obstacles to growth. The ego. The moment you declare, I already know that, your mind stops listening. Your brain erects a wall between what you already understand and what you could still learn. Knowledge is not the enemy here. Arrogance is. Many people walk through life believing that mastery is measured by the amount of information they possess. But true wisdom is measured by what you actually apply. Reading, listening, quoting, or memorizing principles does not make a man wise. Only living them does. The mind naturally craves certainty. It loves the sensation of being right more than the labor of becoming truly wise. This is why so many brilliant men stagnate. They reach a level of comfort in knowledge and stop growing. Yet history shows us a different model. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men on earth, Emperor of Rome, wrote nightly as if he were a student learning the craft of life. Seneca, wealthy and influential, reminded himself that learning was a daily duty, not a badge to show others. Epictetus, once a slave, taught that freedom begins with self-mastery, and no amount of worldly knowledge replaces the practice of virtue. I remember a personal encounter that reshaped my understanding of this lesson. Years ago, I sat across from a quiet mentor, a man of few words. He only spoke when it mattered. I, brimming with youthful arrogance and opinions, interrupted him halfway through an explanation of a principle I had read elsewhere. I already know that, I said, expecting perhaps a flicker of offense or recognition. Instead, he smiled quietly and said, if you truly knew it, you would already be living it. That simple sentence burned into my consciousness. I realized that my so-called knowledge was nothing more than noise. Quotes, books, podcasts, philosophies gathered like souvenirs on a shelf. Wisdom is not a shelf. It is the floor of your life, the stage upon which your behavior plays. You don't know patience until you have practiced it in moments of anger. You don't know courage until you act despite fear. You don't know self-control until desire has tested your restraint repeatedly. The truly intelligent man listens twice before he speaks once. He observes, asks, experiments, and reflects. Wisdom whispers in quiet moments, in spaces where pride is silent. Hearing an idea you've encountered 100 times does not give you mastery. Applying it does. Knowledge without embodiment is entertainment. Action is the measure of understanding. Consider a practical exercise. The next time someone offers advice, do not say I know or nod without thought. Pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, what can I still learn here? Then listen carefully, not to prove yourself right, but to refine your understanding. Your ego will resist. It will want to assert authority, to be seen as the teacher. But true wisdom requires humility. The wisest men are both students and teachers. They speak from experience, not pride. They correct others gently and themselves ruthlessly. Seneca wrote, "While we teach, we learn." Every conversation is an opportunity to become better, not to dominate, but to grow. Let that sink in. Every interaction, every disagreement, every debate is a chance to sharpen your mind. Stop collecting wisdom as trophies. Practice it. Live it. The Stoics remind us that intelligence is not the loudest voice in the room. It is the calmest. It does not insist on recognition, does not compete for attention. It cultivates mastery through humility and persistent action. Practical exercises for part 1. Pause before dismissing. Each time you hear advice or information, pause for a count of 3. Ask yourself, what can I learn here? Daily reflection journal. End each day with a question. What did I learn today that I did not know yesterday? How did I embody it? Revisit old lessons. Take one principle you think you know and apply it differently this week. If it is patience, find one situation to practice it beyond your comfort zone. If it is courage, take one small action that challenges fear. Remember, I already know that is the ego speaking. The truly intelligent man says instead, I have more to learn. 2. It's impossible. The lie that protects fear. There's a subtle, dangerous phrase that men use to shield themselves from growth. It's impossible. At first, it sounds rational, even pragmatic. It signals reason, logic, and a recognition of limits. But if we look closer, it rarely reflects reality. Most often, it is fear dressed in the cloak of logic. It is the mind's way of avoiding discomfort, of protecting the ego from failure, embarrassment, or effort. When a man declares something impossible, he is not describing the world. He is revealing his own boundaries, his own hesitation to endure the necessary struggle to achieve it. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. They knew the real prison is rarely outside us. It is the mental cage we build from doubt, laziness, and avoidance. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that things are difficult." Pause and let that settle. Difficulty does not create fear. Avoidance does. I remember working with a man who dreamed of writing a book. Every year, the same line escaped his lips. It's impossible with my schedule. I just don't have the time. One day, I asked him a simple question. How much time do you spend scrolling through your phone before bed? He looked down, ashamed. About an hour. I smiled and said, then your book isn't impossible. It's inconvenient. And there it was. Impossible is often a convenient lie. It allows us to remain stagnant while feeling rational, clever, or self-protective. The truth is, nothing great was ever born from comfort. Growth is forged in the discomfort of trial, repetition, failure, and persistence. Consider Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. Surrounded by plague, war, betrayal, and endless political intrigue, he faced circumstances far harsher than most of us can imagine. Yet every morning he reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. He did not deny the chaos around him. He controlled only what he could, his perception, his choices, his discipline. If an emperor, burdened by such immense challenges, could act decisively and with virtue, what in your life is truly impossible? Most likely, it is only uncomfortable, inconvenient, or unpracticed. The intelligent man does not worship comfort. He worships progress. He understands that nothing new feels natural at first. Every skill, every habit, every relationship that matters requires initial discomfort. To label it impossible is to surrender before the first step. The modern mind is impossible. In today's world, the illusion of impossibility is more pervasive than ever. We are conditioned to expect ease. Technology, convenience, and comfort numb our capacity for struggle. Challenges are avoided. Fear of failure is amplified by comparison, social media, and the constant highlighting of other successes. Saying it's impossible is not an acknowledgement of reality. It is a resignation to avoidance. I once met a young entrepreneur who wanted to launch a business but kept repeating, "It's impossible. The market is saturated." I asked him, "Who has succeeded in this space before you?" He hesitated. Then we researched together. Within an hour, he realized that people had done it some multiple times, under far worse circumstances. It wasn't impossible. It was unfamiliar, uncomfortable, and required effort. The Stoic approach is to confront the discomfort, test the fear, and break it down into manageable pieces. Epictetus recommended voluntary hardships, not for punishment, but for growth. He advised enduring small difficulties to train the mind to handle the inevitable larger ones. Skip a meal, walk in the cold, speak a hard truth, confront fear deliberately. Slowly, your definition of impossible changes. Practical exercises for Part 2. Identify an impossible challenge. Write down one thing you've labeled impossible. It could be repairing a relationship, starting a business, learning a skill, or improving health. Break it into steps. Write 3 actionable questions. What is one small action I can take today? What belief is preventing me from trying? Who has succeeded before me and how? Act on 1% today. Choose one tiny step you can accomplish immediately. The Stoics call this progress through action. Consistency compounds over time. Reflections on impossible. Every human accomplishment begins with a decision to act in the face of fear and discomfort. Mountaineers climb mountains no one believes can be climbed. Entrepreneurs launch ventures in crowded markets. Individuals change careers at 40 or forgive those who have wronged them. None of these feats are born from ease. They emerge from effort, courage, and persistence. When you say it's impossible, you are retreating into safety, not reasoning about reality. Replace it with, it's not mastered yet. That simple shift changes your approach from fear to curiosity, from avoidance to action. It transforms challenges from walls into doors. Remember, the intelligent man does not chase comfort. He chases mastery. He knows that progress requires beginning before readiness. He embraces discomfort as training. Saying it's impossible is the ego hiding from growth. Saying let's find a way is the Stoic embracing strength. 3. It's not my fault. The easiest way to stay weak. Few phrases are more dangerous than it's not my fault. For simple words that can quietly, almost imperceptibly, erode a man's strength. On the surface, they might sound reasonable, even justifiable. Circumstances are often unfair. People betray us. Opportunities are lost through no fault of our own. Yet the moment you utter these words, you hand your power away. You relinquish control, allowing external events and other people's actions to dictate your peace, your focus, and your growth. The Stoics had a blunt, unflinching perspective on this. Life is inherently unpredictable, unfair, and often harsh. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal from close friends, corruption in his administration, and the deaths of those he loved. Yet his reflections never dwell on blame. Instead, he reminded himself repeatedly, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength. The difference between blame and responsibility. Understanding the distinction between blame and responsibility is critical. Blame looks backward. It fixates on what has already happened, on who caused it, on unfairness. It breeds helplessness. Responsibility looks forward. It asks, what can I control? What can I do next? I once knew a friend who had built a small company from scratch. He poured his nights and weekends into its growth. Then, under new management, he was pushed out. For months, he repeated a mantra of resentment. It's not my fault. They ruined my life. And in that bitterness, he remained frozen. Meanwhile, his former colleagues moved forward. Opportunities passed him by. His anger became a cage, and he, ironically, held the key. Eventually, he realized something profound. While they took his job, they could not take his voice, his creativity, or his discipline. He began writing again, small essays, reflections, even short stories. The energy he had poured into blame was now redirected into growth. In time, he discovered freedom. Responsibility does not mean guilt. Responsibility means reclaiming authorship of your life. The Stoics taught this lesson through example. Epictetus, born a slave, endured a life that would break many men. He could not control his physical bondage, the whims of his masters, or the cruelties of fate. but he could control his judgment. He could control his response. By focusing on what is within his power, he became unbreakable. Why it's not my fault weakens you. Every time you say it's not my fault, you are protecting your pride, but poisoning your power. You are creating a life of excuses and comfort built on resentment. Resentment feels justified. It feels righteous, but it is a slow-acting poison. It rots your spirit from within, disguising itself as moral high ground. Consider this. The world will never be fair. The economy will fail. People will betray you. Luck will change. If you tether your happiness, progress, or identity to fairness, you'll always feel powerless. The intelligent man understands. Control is found in ownership, not accusation. He focuses on his actions, habits, and responses. Modern examples. A manager misses a deadline, and the team blames external software failures. The Stoic asks, what can I control next? How can I prevent this next time? A student fails a test and laments a professor's unfair grading. The Stoic asks, what study habits can I improve? How can I master the subject moving forward? A friend betrays you in a personal matter. The Stoic reflects, how can I strengthen my boundaries? How can I avoid repeating the same pattern? In each case, blame is seductive. It comforts the ego. But responsibility is liberating. It empowers the mind. Practical exercises for Part 3. Identify a recent "it's not my fault" moment. Write down one situation where you blame someone else or external events. Separate what you can control. Ask, what part of this is truly beyond my control? What is within my control, even 1%? Act on the 1%. Take one small action that reclaims responsibility for your life. Focus on that. The Stoics knew that small daily acts compound into mastery. Reflection. Life does not owe you fairness, but you owe yourself growth. When you stop blaming and start owning, you reclaim energy, focus, and resilience. The man who embraces responsibility, even in unfair circumstances, becomes unshakable. Every betrayal, delay, or loss becomes fuel for mastery rather than chains of resentment. Seneca wrote, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Stop waiting for apologies that may never come. Stop waiting for fairness. Start refining yourself. Take responsibility for your reactions, your choices, and your growth. Strength begins where blame ends. The intelligent man does not say, it's not my fault. He says, what can I do next? Every time you choose ownership over blame, you build resilience, power, and freedom. You reclaim your life. You evolve. This expanded section combines Stoic philosophy and historical context, modern, relatable examples, stories and reflections, practical exercises for self-mastery. For I don't need anyone, the illusion of independence. Few statements sound as bold, as fearless, or as admirable in our modern culture as, I don't need anyone. It suggests self-sufficiency, resilience, and independence. At first glance, it appears strong. It signals that you are unshakable, untouchable, unbound by others. But when examined closely, it often reveals something far different. Fear, past hurt, or an unresolved wound. Many men say this not because they are truly powerful, but because they are protecting a scar. They've been let down, betrayed, or abandoned in the past, and so they build walls. Isolation masquerades as strength. Silence masquerades as peace. Distance masquerades as control. Yet these are illusions. True power is not found in avoidance. It is found in connection managed with wisdom, stoicism, and the nature of human connection. Stoic philosophy does not glorify loneliness. Marcus Aurelius wrote, we are made for cooperation, like hands or feet, like eyelids or the rows of upper and lower teeth. To act against one another is to act against nature. Wolves survive in packs. Soldiers fight in formation. Even the greatest philosophers needed dialogue to refine their understanding. Humans are social by nature. Strength is forged not in complete independence, but in carefully chosen interdependence. The Stoics trained themselves to love wisely. They did not avoid relationships, but they approached them with discipline, boundaries, and virtue. Friendship was not convenience or comfort. It was an arena to practice patience, courage, empathy, and honesty. Dialogue, debate, and mutual reflection were essential to their growth. The hidden danger of "I don't need anyone." When a man clings to the phrase, "I don't need anyone," he often confuses self-sufficiency with avoidance. He may appear calm, distant, or stoic, but in reality, he is limiting his growth. Virtue, courage, empathy, and forgiveness cannot be practiced in isolation. You cannot practice patience with yourself alone. It requires other people to challenge your impulses. You cannot practice compassion if there is no one to empathize with. You cannot practice courage if there are no situations that test your fear. I remember a man who proudly declared he was done with relationships. "People disappoint me," he said. "I'm better off alone." For years, he lived in solitude. No betrayal, no conflict, no growth. Then quietly he admitted, "Peace is easy when no one can test your patience, but it's meaningless without challenge." The intelligent man understands that solitude is sacred for reflection, but connection is necessary for evolution. He does not rely on others for validation, yet he seeks allies to sharpen his mind. He does not need anyone to complete him, but he understands that meaningful connections are essential to practicing virtue. Modern examples. A team leader isolates themselves, refusing input. They appear decisive, but they stagnate because they cannot see blind spots. A student avoids collaboration, insisting they work alone. They may succeed in the short term, but they lose the opportunity to learn from different perspectives. An individual cuts off family, friends, or mentors after betrayal. They protect themselves but lose growth, empathy, and the ability to forgive. Practical exercises for Part 4. Identify key relationships. Write down 3 people who challenge you, elevate your standards, or reflect your blind spots. Engage with purpose. Reach out to one of them this week. No small talk, no flattery. Ask a meaningful question or share a reflection. Practice boundary connection. Reflect on one relationship where you feel distant or overly dependent. Define one boundary that protects your peace without closing your growth. Reflection. Connection is not weakness. Avoidance is weakness. Solitude for reflection is essential, but isolation for protection is dangerous. The Stoic seeks allies, not audiences. He understands that relationships are the arena in which virtue is tested and strengthened. Marcus Aurelius wrote letters to his friend Lucilius not to lecture, but to share struggles, to reflect, and to grow together. The man who says, "I don't need anyone," closes himself to challenge and meaning. But the intelligent man opens doors selectively, cultivating connection without surrendering himself. True strength is not found in isolation. It is found in interdependence tempered by boundaries. Remember this. You do not need everyone, but you do need someone. Not to save you, but to sharpen you. Not to complete you, but to reflect the man you are still becoming. Strength is not avoidance. It is the calm mastery of connection. This expanded section includes Stoic philosophy and historical context, modern examples and real-life applications, personal stories, practical exercises for the reader. 5. I'm too old for that. The excuse that kills growth. Few phrases are as quietly destructive as, "I'm too old for that." At first, it seems harmless, even practical. Age is real after all. Strength fades, energy wanes, recovery slows. But in truth, this phrase is rarely about reality. It is fear disguised as wisdom. It is the mind's way of avoiding the vulnerability of beginning again, of stepping into uncertainty, of risking failure. The Stoics had a radically different view. Age is not a limit on growth. Comfort, fear, and resignation are. Seneca wrote, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." Marcus Aurelius, even as a middle-aged emperor, wrote daily reflections, practicing humility, discipline, and curiosity. Cato the Younger began studying philosophy when most men would have retired. To the Stoics, learning is not a phase of life. It is a lifelong virtue. The danger of "I'm too old." When a man says, "I'm too old," he is often saying, "I'm afraid to start again. I'm afraid to look foolish. I'm afraid to struggle." This mindset is the quiet surrender of potential. It stops curiosity, halts progress, and silences creativity. It makes comfort the enemy of growth. I remember meeting a man in his 60s who had always dreamed of learning to play the piano. "What's the point now?" he asked. "I'd never be great at it." I asked him, "So you'd rather die without experiencing the music than live imperfectly with it?" He laughed uneasily, but that evening he practiced for 15 minutes. A year later, he played a simple song for his granddaughter's birthday. He was not great, but he was alive, learning, growing, and creating. The Stoics measure worth not by years, but by effort. Discipline outlasts youth. Patience grows stronger with time. Understanding deepens. Experience compounds. Saying, "I'm too old," is surrendering to the illusion that growth has an expiration date. Modern examples. A professional in their 50s avoids learning new skills because it's too late to change careers. In reality, they fear the discomfort of starting again. A person stops pursuing a fitness goal because "I'm too old to run a marathon." The truth, their body can adapt, but their mind resists temporary struggle. Someone hesitates to learn a new language, art, or skill, claiming age is a barrier. The barrier is not physical, it is mental. Age does not prevent growth. Fear does. Curiosity, discipline, and courage do not expire. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you're going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." The Stoics remind us that the only true limit is resignation. Practical exercises for Part 5. Identify an area you've abandoned due to age. Write down one activity or skill you stopped pursuing because you think you're too old. Define the smallest step. What is one simple action you can take today to engage with it? Even 10 minutes counts. Future reflection. Write a sentence. "If I start today, my future self will thank me in 1 year for ________." This anchors effort in tangible growth rather than abstract fear. Reflection. Every day you live is another chance to begin again. Seneca began his most profound writings in his 60s. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations while leading an empire through war and plague. Neither of them said, "I'm too old for this." They said, "I still have time as long as I have virtue." The intelligent man knows age does not define him. Curiosity, effort, and persistence do. He chooses to age forward, not backward. Regret ages a person faster than any number on a birthday cake. The Stoic does not measure time by years lost, but by wisdom gained and applied. When the next excuse whispers, "It's too late," respond with calm defiance. "No, I am right on time for the life I am still meant to live." Growth has no expiration date. Every breath, every day, is a chance to begin again, to improve, to create, and to master yourself. This expanded section includes Stoic philosophy and historical context, modern, relatable examples, stories illustrating the principle, practical exercises for reflection and growth. 6. "I'll do it tomorrow," the silent killer discipline. Few phrases are as deceptively harmless and yet as destructive as "I'll do it tomorrow." For simple words that, when repeated, bury more dreams than failure ever could. At first, they appear innocent, even practical. "I'm just postponing. I'll start later. I need more time." But the reality is that every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," a small piece of your discipline dies. Tomorrow becomes next week becomes next month, and before you know it, your intentions are buried under years of procrastination. The Stoics warned us against this quietly corrosive mindset. Seneca wrote, "While we delay, life speeds by. Time waits for no one." Delaying action under the illusion of a future opportunity is a form of self-deception. The mind clings to comfort, fearing effort, imperfection, and judgment. Yet progress and courage only grow through action, not intention. The psychology of postponement. Procrastination is rarely about time. It is about emotion management. We avoid tasks because we associate them with discomfort, fear of failure, fear of imperfection, or even fear of success. The phrase, "I'll do it tomorrow," is the ego's defense mechanism, protecting itself from temporary pain. But every delay erodes trust with yourself. The more often you postpone, the less reliable you become in your own eyes. Self-respect, discipline, and confidence quietly diminish. I once coached a man who wanted to get back into shape. Every Monday, he promised himself, "I'll start tomorrow." One Friday, I asked him, "How many tomorrows have you lived since January?" He smiled weakly, "Too many." And that is the danger of postponement. It becomes identity. A life built on intentions rather than actions is a life of quiet surrender. Stoicism and the power of the present. Marcus Aurelius reflected on the fleeting nature of time. Do not act as if you are going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. This is not meant to scare, but to awaken. Life is fragile. Every moment wasted waiting is a moment lost. Courage, discipline, and self-respect exist only in action. The Stoics call this memento mori, a constant remembrance of mortality. Not to inspire panic, but clarity. When you truly internalize this, "I'll do it tomorrow," loses all power. You realize that later may never arrive. There's only the present moment, the only time in which change, mastery, and growth can happen. Modern examples. An entrepreneur delays launching a business, waiting for the perfect plan. The market moves, opportunities vanish, and the advantage is lost. A student postpones studying for an exam, convinced they work better under pressure. The result is stress, miscomprehension, and regret. A professional wants to build a new skill, but waits for motivation. The skill remains dormant and confidence erodes. Each example reflects the same truth. Tomorrow is a mirage. The intelligent man begins now, imperfectly if necessary, because imperfect action today will always outweigh perfect intentions tomorrow. Practical exercises for Part 6. Pick one delayed task. Identify one thing you've been postponing. It could be as simple as clearing your workspace, making a difficult call, or starting a workout. Set a 10-minute timer. Begin immediately for just 10 minutes. Focus on starting, not finishing. Action breaks the inertia. Daily reflection. At the end of each day, ask, where did I delay today? How can I act on it immediately tomorrow? This builds accountability and awareness. Reflection. Every day you postpone is a small betrayal of yourself. The Stoics teach that discipline is not built on moods or motivation. It is built on duty and action. Courage grows through doing. Self-respect is forged in moments when you act despite discomfort. Remember this. "I'll do it tomorrow" is the slowest form of surrender. The intelligent man does not wait. He begins today imperfectly with clarity and purpose, because the present is the only time in which mastery exists. Every small action compounds. Every choice to act builds momentum, courage, and self-trust. In practice, start small. Do the things you've been postponing now. Embrace imperfection. Reclaim the moments stolen by procrastination. Life does not wait, and neither should you. This expanded section includes Stoic philosophy in historical context, modern, relatable examples, stories illustrating the principle, practical exercises for self-mastery. 7. That's just who I am. To surrender the mind. Few phrases are as deceptively honest and as quietly limiting as, "That's just who I am." On the surface, it sounds truthful. It conveys acceptance, authenticity, and a recognition of one's limits. But beneath the veneer of honesty lies surrender. Those 5 words have ended more growth, more healing, and more personal transformation than failure ever could. When a man says, "That's just who I am," he stops writing a story and starts replaying excuses. He substitutes potential for resignation. He confuses habit, conditioning, and fear with immutable identity. Stoic philosophy is radical in its refusal to accept this. Epictetus wrote, "You're not what happens to you, but how you choose to respond." Your identity is not a prison. It is a pattern, and patterns can be rewritten. The danger of surrender. Saying, "That's just who I am," gives your past authority over your future. It excuses laziness, anger, fear, and apathy as inherent qualities rather than behaviors that can be corrected. It halts self-improvement by creating an illusion of inevitability. The mind, when trapped in this narrative, stops seeking growth and begins defending weakness. I once knew a man who consistently lost his temper. Every minor mistake, every disagreement, he exploded and then justified it. "That's just who I am." I've always been this way. For years, he wore anger like a badge of authenticity. One night, his teenage son looked him in the eye and said, "Dad, I hope I don't become like you." That one sentence shattered the illusion. It was no longer enough to live with flaws. He realized he could pass them down. He began a daily practice of journaling, following Marcus Aurelius' example, not to impress others, but to see himself clearly. Slowly, the phrase "that's just who I am" became "that's who I was." Self-awareness without correction is self-deception. Awareness paired with action is transformation. Modern examples. A professional repeats the same destructive habits at work, excusing them as personality traits. Productivity and growth stall. An individual justifies unhealthy relationships with "I'm just like that," avoiding responsibility for personal boundaries. Someone refuses to learn emotional regulation, claiming, "I can't change my temperament." In reality, temperance and self-control are skills that can be trained. The intelligent man understands that identity is fluid. He sees habits, impulses, and tendencies not as unchangeable, but as opportunities for mastery. He knows that every choice is a chance to rewrite the patterns of his life. Practical exercises for Part 7. Identify fixed beliefs. Write down 3 statements you frequently use that begin with "that's just who I am." Rewrite with action. Transform each statement into a growth-oriented version. For example, "That's just who I am. I get angry easily. I am learning to stay calm when provoked. That's just who I am. I procrastinate. I am practicing starting tasks immediately." Daily reflection. Each morning, review your rewritten statements. Ask, what action today will reinforce the person I am becoming? Reflection. The Stoic rejects fatalism in personality. Fate determines circumstances, but choice determines meaning. Patterns of behavior are not destiny. They are habits to observe, challenge, and refine. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The Stoic does not dwell in excuses. He balances awareness of his flaws with relentless correction. Every time you say, "That's just who I am," you trade potential for comfort, growth for predictability, discipline for familiarity. But change does not require becoming someone new. It requires shedding the parts of yourself that were never truly you. Anger, fear, laziness, and apathy. These are conditioning, not character. The Stoic's duty is to peel away illusion until only virtue remains. Remember, intelligence without humility becomes arrogance. Humility without action becomes apathy. The intelligent man balances both. He does not defend weakness as identity. He edits himself daily, becoming the person he chooses to be. "That's just who I am" becomes a sentence of the past. "That's who I'm becoming" becomes a sentence of action. This expanded section includes Stoic philosophy and historical context, modern, relatable examples, stories illustrating the principle, practical exercises for identity transformation. Outro. We've walked together through 7 phrases the intelligent man never says. Each one, seemingly simple, hides a subtle trap. They are the words of ego, fear, excuse, and resignation. They are the phrases that keep men small, comfortable, and stagnant. And yet, beneath every trap lies a lesson, a doorway to mastery. The intelligent man is not perfect. He is not flawless. He is human, but he understands that words are power. Words can build or destroy, liberate or imprison. Every careless sentence costs energy, focus, and self-respect. By carefully choosing what he says and what he refuses to say, he cultivates a life of discipline, clarity, and virtue. 1. I already know that. The trap of the ego. The intelligent man never utters these words lightly. He understands that arrogance kills curiosity. To claim knowledge prematurely is to close the mind. Wisdom does not reside in memorization. It resides in embodiment. He remembers Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, writing nightly reflections as if he were a student. He recalls a lesson from his quiet mentor. If you truly knew, you'd already be living it. The intelligent man listens before he speaks. He asks, observes, experiments. He does not claim mastery. He pursues it relentlessly. 2. It's impossible, the lie that protects fear. When most men say it's impossible, They are not describing reality. They are describing fear. The Stoics understood that the prison of the mind is self-imposed. Difficulties are only insurmountable to the man unwilling to act. Seneca taught that challenges exist to reveal courage, discipline, and creativity. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal, war, and plague, yet he reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The intelligent man seeks solutions where others see walls. He embraces discomfort, action, and incremental progress, knowing that almost nothing is truly impossible when faced with willingness. 3. It's not my fault. The easiest way to stay weak. Blame is seductive. It comforts the ego, but it is a slow poison. The intelligent man understands that control and growth come from ownership, not accusation. Epictetus, born a slave, exemplified this principle. He could not control the cruelty of masters, the injustice of fate, or the chaos of life, but he could control his judgment. Responsibility, not blame, is the path to resilience. Every betrayal, loss, or setback becomes fuel for mastery rather than chains of resentment. 4. I don't need anyone, the illusion of independence. Isolation masquerading as strength is one of the most common traps. Stoicism teaches that humans are social by nature. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "We are made for cooperation, like hands or feet, like eyelids or the rows of upper and lower teeth. To act against one another is to act against nature." The intelligent man does not rely on others for validation, yet he cultivates relationships that sharpen his mind, test his character, and reflect his blind spots. Connection, carefully chosen and boundaried, is a tool for growth, not a vulnerability to be feared. True strength is calm interdependence, not lonely self-sufficiency. 5. I'm too old for that. The excuse that kills growth. Age is a number. Fear is a choice. The Stoics measured life not in years, but in effort, curiosity, and virtue. Seneca continued learning in his 60s. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations amid war and plague. Cato the Younger studied philosophy when most men sought comfort. The intelligent man refuses to surrender to age. He sees every day as an opportunity to learn, create, and practice mastery. Regret, not age, is the real thief of life. Every new skill, every new habit, and every new challenge is a chance to grow, regardless of how many years have passed. 6. I'll do it tomorrow. The silent killer of discipline. Procrastination is a quiet thief. Each postponed action is a betrayal of trust with oneself. The Stoics taught that time is finite, precious, and unstoppable. Memento mori. Remember that you will die, not to instill fear, but clarity. The intelligent man acts today, imperfectly if necessary. He understands that discipline and courage are cultivated through repeated, small actions. Every step taken now compounds into mastery, while every postponed task strengthens inertia, doubt, and weakness. 7. That's just who I am. The surrender of the mind. Identity is fluid. Personality is not destiny. The intelligent man refuses to hide behind excuses. Anger, fear, laziness, and apathy are not immutable. They are patterns to be observed, challenged, and corrected. Epictetus taught, "You're not what happens to you, but how you choose to respond." Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Growth is choice. Mastery is habitual." Every time the intelligent man rewrites the sentence, "That's just who I am," he reshapes his destiny. That's who I'm becoming. The measure of an intelligent man. The intelligent man is not the loudest in the room. He is the calmest, not because he knows everything, but because he no longer needs to prove anything. Real wisdom lives in silence, humility, and self-control. He does not say, "I already know that." He listens. "It's impossible." He tries. "It's not my fault." He takes responsibility. "I don't need anyone." He chooses connection. "I'm too old." He keeps learning. "I'll do it tomorrow." He acts today. "That's just who I am." He becomes better daily. Intelligence is not knowledge. Intelligence is mastery of the self. The intelligent man applies, practices, reflects, and corrects. Words are not decoration. They are tools. Every phrase he utters builds strength, focus, and virtue, or diminishes it. Final Stoic practices. Audit your language. Identify one phrase from the 7 you use regularly. Commit to removing it from your vocabulary. Actively reframe. Replace each phrase with its Stoic alternative. For example, "That's impossible. How can I make this possible?" Daily reflection. Each night, ask, "Where did I act with intelligence, humility, and courage today? Where did I falter? What will I correct tomorrow?" Small, consistent action. Mastery is incremental. Growth compounds. Start now. Imperfectly, persistently, deliberately. The intelligent man is calm, teachable, and unbreakable. Not because life is easy, but because he has mastered himself. Words do not enslave him. They serve him. Time does not scare him. He acts within it. Challenges do not crush him. He faces them. Connection does not weaken him. It strengthens him. Age does not stop him. Curiosity propels him. The Stoic path is simple but profound. Speak carefully, act deliberately, learn constantly, and refine relentlessly. Your words shape your reality. Your choices define your destiny. And your mastery of self determines the life you will lead. Remember, you are not a fixed story. You are a living manuscript. Every day, you choose whether to defend your weaknesses or refine them. Every day, you choose whether to be distracted by excuses or empowered by action. The intelligent man never says, "That's just who I am." He says, "That's who I'm becoming." Be calm. Be teachable. Be unbreakable.